Welcome to Secret Jungian Psychology, my friends. There comes a moment in every soul's journey when something inside grows silent. You stop chasing, stop proving, stop trying to be seen. The world feels strangely quiet, not because it's changed, but because you have. You used to search for connection everywhere, in friendships, in love, in belonging. You shaped yourself like water, bending to fit other people's cups. You smiled when you didn't mean it, spoke when silence felt truer, stayed when your spirit longed to leave. But one morning, without fanfare or announcement, something inside you breaks free. You no longer crave to be understood. You crave to be real. You no longer chase connection. You begin to attract it. Carl Jung called this transformation the awakening of the self, a quiet inner revolution where the soul stops chasing what it already contains. It's not arrogance. It's not withdrawal. It's alignment. The moment your inner world becomes so full, you no longer reach outward for what is already within. 1. The quiet shift. There comes a time in your life when something subtle but irreversible happens. The noise of the world no longer pulls you the way it used to. The endless scrolling, the shallow conversations, the need to be included. It all begins to feel strangely hollow. You start to sense a quiet disconnection, not from people, but from the performance of connection. You can sit in a room full of laughter and still feel unseen. You can talk for hours, yet feel no depth in the words. And that's when it begins, the quiet awakening of your inner world. Carl Jung described this as the beginning of individuation, the sacred process of becoming whole. He said that true connection doesn't come from chasing others, but from reuniting with the forgotten parts of your own soul. At first, this shift can feel like loneliness. You might wonder, what's wrong with me? Why can't I connect like I used to? But it isn't loneliness, it's clarity. Your spirit is simply rejecting false connections so that true ones can finally find you. You're not withdrawing, you're awakening. And with every quiet moment of self-honesty, you're becoming a magnet for everything that resonates with your truth. 2. The illusion of connection. Before awakening, most people chase connection like a thirsty traveler searching for water. They look for belonging in validation, affection, approval. They confuse attention with love and familiarity with intimacy. But Jung warned that what we often call connection is really projection. We seek in others the qualities we've abandoned within ourselves. We look for kindness because we've forgotten how to be gentle with our own hearts. We crave recognition because we've lost touch with our inherent worth. The world teaches us to build bridges outward, but rarely do we learn to build bridges inward. And so we grow dependent on others for emotional oxygen. We chase friendships that echo our fears. We enter relationships that mirror our wounds. We surround ourselves with people who reflect our unhealed parts, because deep down we are seeking to meet ourselves. This is the illusion of connection. It's not wrong. It's human, but it's exhausting, because it demands that you keep proving your value to stay loved. And eventually, your soul gets tired. It starts whispering, there must be another way. That whisper is the beginning of awakening. 3. The moment of awakening. Awakening rarely comes as thunder. It comes as a quiet discomfort. You begin noticing how drained you feel after pleasing everyone. How your laughter feels forced, how your conversations circle around the same empty subjects. And one evening, while sitting alone, maybe scrolling your phone or staring out the window. You feel something in your chest ache in silence. It isn't sadness, it's truth. A realization that the connection you've been chasing isn't what you truly crave. What you really want is resonance, that rare frequency where souls meet without pretense, where presence replaces performance. Jung wrote that every act of awakening begins with a withdrawal of psychic energy from the outside world. You stop feeding your attention into what doesn't nourish you. You stop performing. You stop explaining yourself. And suddenly, your energy begins to return home. This return feels sacred. You might find joy in solitude again. You might notice how peaceful silence can be. You start hearing your own inner voice, faint at first, then clearer, softer, wiser. And from this place, something miraculous happens. The moment you stop chasing connection, connection begins to find you. 4. The energy of wholeness. To understand why this happens, we must return to Jung's greatest insight, that everything you seek externally already exists internally. When you are fragmented, you attract fragments. When you are whole, you attract wholeness. The law is simple, like attracts like, but it's not mystical, it's psychological. Your unconscious communicates with the world through your energy, and your energy reflects your level of integration. A person disconnected from themselves unconsciously broadcasts need. They vibrate on the frequency of lack, and so they meet others who are also seeking completion outside themselves. But a person who has met their shadow, embraced their solitude, and reconnected with their inner self radiates a different energy. They no longer enter rooms searching for belonging. They are belonging. Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." When you live from that truth, you stop chasing. You simply become. And in that being, connection flows effortlessly. People begin to sense something different about you. They can't explain it, only feel it. It's not charisma, it's not charm, it's presence, a quiet groundedness that feels like home. 5. The magnetism of the authentic self. True connection is magnetic, not pursued. It's the natural outcome of authenticity. The more honest you become with yourself, the more your energy filters out what isn't aligned. You'll notice this magnetism in small, surprising ways. You'll meet someone by coincidence and feel an instant recognition, not from shared interests, but from shared depth. You'll find that conversations with the right people flow effortlessly, without the need to impress or perform. This is what Jung called psychic resonance, a meeting of souls on the same wavelength of consciousness. It doesn't require effort. It doesn't require words. It simply is. When you live in authenticity, your presence itself becomes a signal. It attracts those who are ready to meet you in truth and repels those who are not. That's why, during awakening, so many old relationships fade. It's not rejection, it's realignment. The people who once fit your wounds no longer fit your wholeness. And though it may hurt to let go, your soul knows that something deeper is making space to arrive. 6. The quiet attractor. Spiritually awake people are not antisocial. They are selective with energy. They understand that connection built on fear will always collapse. So instead of chasing, they cultivate. They cultivate inner peace. They tend to their minds. They nurture their creativity. They protect their solitude as sacred ground, because they know that what they radiate is what they invite. When you are calm inside, you attract calmness. When you are grounded, you attract stability. When you are whole, you attract souls who speak the same language of peace. The awakened person doesn't advertise their growth, they embody it quietly. Their silence says more than their words ever could. You may notice this shift in yourself. People begin approaching you differently. Some feel drawn to your calm. Others may withdraw because your peace reflects their chaos. And that's okay. You're no longer trying to be understood. You're simply being, and those meant for your frequency will find you naturally. Becoming the source. The journey of awakening is not about isolation. It's about integration. You stop chasing connection when you realize you are the source of it. You carry the same life that animates every soul. You are not separate. You only believed you were. Carl Jung once wrote, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." That's the secret of spiritual connection. It's alchemy. It's not found by searching, but by being transformed enough to resonate. When you become whole, your energy becomes medicine, your presence becomes sanctuary, and you stop needing to chase love, because love itself begins to orbit around you. So if you find yourself no longer chasing people, no longer forcing conversations, no longer craving validation, don't panic. You are not losing connection. You are becoming it. You've stepped out of the noise and into the field of quiet magnetism, where souls meet without pretending, where words are few but truth is loud, where presence itself becomes prayer. This is the life Jung spoke of, a life lived from the self, where connection flows not from need, but from wholeness. And once you taste this kind of peace, you will never again chase what you naturally attract. The sacred solitude. There comes a stage on the path of awakening where silence becomes your closest companion. You no longer crave noise. You no longer rush to fill the spaces between words. You begin to notice that true connection doesn't bloom from constant talking. It grows in the stillness between hearts that understand without words. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." But what he did not say, yet what his work whispered, is that becoming who you truly are means walking through deep solitude. At first, solitude feels like loss. You may miss the chaos, the people, conversations that once made you feel alive. But as you walk deeper into yourself, you begin to see. Solitude was never loneliness. It was sacred space, the garden where your true self could finally breathe. The spiritually awake person does not avoid people. They simply no longer need them to fill the void within. They've realized that real companionship doesn't come from being surrounded. It comes from being understood. And in the quiet of that understanding, you begin to attract those who resonate with your peace. Not those who chase attention, but those who recognize energy. Not those who need something from you, but those who meet you at the same frequency of truth. This is the paradox of awakening. The moment you stop running toward connection is the moment it finds you. Energy speaks louder than words. In the world before awakening, we are trained to perform. We perform kindness to be accepted, we perform intelligence to be respected, and we perform affection to be loved. But as you awaken, that mask becomes heavy. You can no longer fake what your soul no longer supports. Your energy begins to speak louder than any word you could ever say. And people can feel it. They feel the calm in your presence, the stability in your tone, the subtle power in your silence. Jung believed that the unconscious mind expresses itself through symbols, through the unseen. And when you awaken, your energy becomes such a symbol. It becomes the language your soul speaks. You stop needing to explain yourself. You stop needing to prove. Because the right souls don't need convincing. They just know. This is what spiritual magnetism is. It's the quiet confidence that comes from self-acceptance. It's the vibration of someone who has met their own darkness and made peace with it. You don't need to shine brighter to be seen. You simply need to be authentic. And that authenticity becomes light, a frequency that calls the right souls to you without you saying a word. The disappearance of need to chase connection is to come from a place of lack. It's to say, I need you to complete me. I need your attention to feel real, but the awakened soul has learned. Nothing outside you can complete what was never missing. When you meet yourself fully, your shadow, your fears, your truth, something changes forever. The desperate need for others to see you dissolves. You stop chasing validation. You stop begging to belong. And strangely, that's when people begin to gravitate toward you. Not because you are chasing, but because you are whole. Carl Jung taught that the process of individuation, the journey to self, is the foundation of all true relationships. When you individuate, you become complete within yourself. You are no longer half of a whole. You are a whole meeting another whole. This changes everything. Your relationships stop being rooted in fear and start being built on truth. You no longer love to escape loneliness. You love to express abundance. You no longer seek to be understood. You simply understand. And that's when connection becomes effortless. Because neediness repels, but wholeness attracts. The quiet magnetic field of the soul. Imagine standing at the center of a still lake. The water around you is calm, untouched. Every ripple that appears comes from your own movement. This is what energy is like. When your mind is still, your soul creates no unnecessary waves, and that stillness becomes power. People feel drawn to you without understanding why. Jung would call this the energy of the self, the center of the psyche, and the bridge between the conscious and the unconscious. When a person aligns with their self, they radiate an unseen order. Others feel safe around them, not because they are loud, but because they are grounded. You begin to notice that you no longer need to network. You no longer need to convince people of your worth. Your presence speaks for itself. The awakened one becomes a mirror, reflecting others back to themselves. And those who are ready for truth feel comforted in that mirror. Those who are not yet ready often walk away. You don't chase either, because you understand. Both are divine. The right people arrive as lessons or as peace, and both are gifts from the same source. The return to oneness. As your awareness deepens, you realize the greatest connection is not human at all. It is divine. You feel it in the rhythm of the wind, the stillness of trees, the silence between breaths. You no longer beg for love, because you are love. You no longer chase belonging, because you belong everywhere and nowhere at once. You are both the seeker and the found. Jung described this as the reconciliation of opposites, the union of conscious and unconscious, self and shadow, human and divine. It is not an escape from the world, but a deeper immersion in it, with eyes that now see through illusion. In this space, you no longer chase connection. You simply become connection itself. Your presence becomes prayer. Your silence becomes understanding. And your life becomes a quiet invitation To everyone still searching, come home to yourself. When spiritually awake, people stop chasing connection. They do not withdraw from love. They return to it in its purest form. Because true connection was never about finding someone. It was about remembering who you are when you stop pretending. You attract what you are ready for. And when you become peace, you attract peace. When you become love, you attract love. When you become whole, the universe mirrors that wholeness back to you in 1,000 beautiful forms. So stop chasing, start being, and watch how the world, little by little, finds its way back to your quiet light.